From the Tepke Gym at Metamora Township High School, Clutch Sports Media is on the air for the second time today, this time for a boys battle between two schools separated by just a short drive down Illinois 116. It's the Metamora Redbirds hosting the Roanoke-Benson Rockets. Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for joining us all day on ClutchSportsIL.com. Alongside John Camosa, I am Larry Larson. And John, this is going to be an exciting one, a 1A versus 3A battle, but lots of talent on both sides.
Lots of talent indeed, Larry, and this is a Roanoke-Benson team who was one win away from getting a state, and they reached state last season after the season was called short during the pandemic. So this is a very skilled Roanoke-Benson team who only suffered one loss last year and racked up 31 wins, led by 6'9" Luke Brayman. So watch for him inside today, and then equally skilled the Metamora side hosting.
Brayman on one side, and of course the 6'5" Ethan Kizer on the other side. We'll talk about those two players and even more after a brief break for our national anthem. We'll be right back with the starting lineups and game action on ClutchSportsIL.com. Welcome back inside the Tepke Gym. Larry Larson in with you alongside John Camosa, Joey Wright at the controls, Jonathan Michael behind the camera, Matt Harrington also behind the camera but on the baseline and working social media. John, we touched on it before the national anthem, but tons of talent on these two sides, and it's not your prototypical 3A versus 1A matchup where you figure, oh, you know, one side's probably got a really small roster with not a lot of talent. That's not the case with this RB squad.
Not at all. Like I said before that national anthem started, Larry, that this is a very skilled Roanoke-Benson team, having lost their he was a Journal Star Player of the Year, Jack Weber, last year, and also lost a very good offensive and defensive player in Trent Weldon. But they're returning the core with Luke Brayman in the middle at 6'9", and you got James Early and then Jack's younger brother, Joel Weber. So they're returning a lot of talent back from that team that made it to state before the season was called. And then on this other side, Metamora, we've seen them play, and Ethan Kizer, Zach Schroeder, a lot of good talent over there as well.
The Redbirds enter this one at 5-1 on the season. Roanoke 4-0, 3-0 in the Tri-County Conference. And, man, just looking on the floor, John, Brayman standing at 6'9", he almost sticks out like a sore thumb, even though Ethan Kizer, who's just being introduced right now for the Redbirds, is pretty big himself. There's a little bit of a size difference there, and it's going to be a challenge for Kaiser that he has yet to see this year.
It is, Larry, and I think, too, that what kind of separates both players is Brayman likes to just post himself right down low. He's more of a, he's not flashy, he's not too quick, he's just kind of a post up and turn, whereas Kaiser's explosive. Kaiser can shoot the three, Kaiser can drive, so I think we're going to see a fun matchup, but it is going to be hard to shoot around that long reach of Luke Brayman.
Taking a look at the starting lineups, first for the visitors in black, Joel Weber, a senior guard, James Early, also a senior guard, Chase Martin, a junior forward, Josh Fike, the 6'2 senior guard, and the aforementioned Luke Brayman, standing at 6'9. For Metamora, Luke DeFrance, Zach Schroeder, Ethan Kizer, Drew Tucker, and Tyson Swanson. Rockets basketball to start the game. They immediately get a little bit of a press from Luke DeFrance, but the ball is inbounded to Joel Weber, and we're underway. Fike looking for Brayman right away, and it's turned over. Here comes Ethan Kizer. He lost the mask. He almost lost the basketball, and the Redbirds do.
Yeah, Larry, and just saying before the game how explosive Kaiser can be. Look how he just took it all the way to the other side, and yeah, maybe dropping the mask there, maybe created a little bit of a distraction. They turned the ball over, but Kaiser can get it and go, and I think Brayman's going to have a little bit his hands full keeping up there.
Weber will run the show for the Rockets. RB was the featured team on Jim Matson's prep rally on 25 WEK on Friday. Lots of interviews from all members of the team, and Joel Weber said, we want to make a point this year. Even though there's no state series, we want to show that we're one of the best teams in the area, as Brayman can't finish the slam.
I think, Larry, too, we touched before the game that Brayman actually moved down to Florida before the season to play during the whole halt on the season here, and then transferred right back to Roanoke to rejoin his squad.
Drew Tucker, the mid-range J, is off the mark. A lot of players did that. We also saw that with Noah Reynolds and his brother Nelson at PND. Metamora gets another chance here. Zach Schroeder directs traffic. He's our player to watch for Metamora. Of course, outside of Ethan Kizer. Redbirds very patient on the offensive end. Very disciplined team under Danny Greaves. Kaiser hounded in the post, and he traveled.
Yeah, Larry, and one thing to watch, and for those of you that have tuned in today, Roanoke-Benson, coached by Abe Zeller, pride themselves on the defensive end, so it could be a lower scoring game if Roanoke can control them. They love to play that zone defense. It really works for them. Last
time out, RB held Ottawa Marquette below 50 points in a below 60 points in a 64-57 win. Weber trying to make something happen. Hands off to Fike. Now to Early. Early. No look, pass down low is a little too much to handle for Brayman.
And Joel Weber, the junior on this team, his brother Jack was a catalyst last year for this team, just steam-headed this team into the state finals. And he's gained a lot of confidence and gained some talent just watching his brother, and it really shows in this Roanoke group.
Kaiser loses the basketball. A number of turnovers from the two big men. Kind of losing the basketball, a little bit of Butterfinger action going on here. Thanks for joining us on CSM, second game of a boys and girls basketball doubleheader. Ball inbounded into the corner, now to Kaiser. Going to work on Brayman, looking for room, and he finds it. Kaiser on the board, as are the Redbirds.
And you put the height in front of Kaiser, but he doesn't seem fazed by it. He's still got that long reach as well and can create his shots down low. But as you said, Larry, I think this is one of the bigger guys they've seen out there.
Yes. It's rare when you see somebody who's 6'9". Of course, it's pretty common in the game of basketball, especially once you get to the college level, but I can't think of any players in the Middle-Illini Conference who are 6'9". Brayman is hacked. And one thing about Luke Brayman's game, John, that is not exactly prototypical of a 6'9" fella, 12 for 12 at the stripe. He's great at the free throw line.
Indeed. He's very consistent last year, too, and that's what kind of separated him, as you said, as a big man.
First free throw, no doubt there, as we get a rehearsed bench celebration from the Rockets. We'll see if we see that on another make for Brayman, looking to tie it up early on. Knocks down the second. Olivet Nazarene commit, has 2 points.
Trying to work around that zone defense. Would be anxious to see who they can get going.
Three ball on the way from Tucker, just missed. Soars in for his own board. DeFrance thought about the three, now will take it at the left wing and drain it.
You know, as we saw, Larry, in that first game we were out here, Metamora to open the season, Metamora's dangerous behind the arc.
They are. And early tried to get the response to go, couldn't get it through traffic. Tucker into the corner, DeFrance again, why not?
How about another quick timeout for Abe Zeller and the Rockets?
That's a good timeout, John. Even though there are a limited amount of fans in here, it once again got loud. We heard that in the triple overtime victory for Dunlap in the girls' game that we just did. That wrapped up about an hour and a half ago, but the energy has stayed in the gym.
It has. Yeah, and that was a triple overtime game, which will be tough to top today, but like you said, that energy's still there, and with having limited fans, you can still hear that intensity, and that crowd noise is still at an all-time high.
If you're Abe Zeller in this huddle, what are you saying in the timeout? It's early. We've seen some good looks for the Rockets, but Metamora's just been making it rain.
And I think, too, he's probably going to say, I got to close out better on defense. As I said, they pride themselves on the defensive end, but they've we see Metamora, how well they move the ball, and, they're very smart when they pass unselfishly, and a couple times they just left to France over there. So I think he's going to be crucial to say, hey, guys, we really got to button down on the defensive end and not give those open threes.
And looking at both these rosters, John, we know that Metamora can jet out and transition, but one thing that Roanoke said on Friday night on television that I caught was they're much quicker this year. They graduated 6 seniors from last year's state team. Mm-hmm. But this team has a little bit of a different dimension, although they're still very good with a few holdovers.
Yeah. And I think, too, a lot of that, multi-sport athletes through the years, baseball players, track players. So these guys are used to running up and down the floor. Yeah. But I think keeping up with a team like Metamora, you need that speed and that quickness.
Rockets inbound. Joel Weber will run the show. He was a 6th man last year on the state team. Starter this year. Pass deflected. Gets it back. Once again looking for Brayman in the post. He is triple teamed. Going to work on Kaiser. Hook shot too strong. Gets his own board, and that one falls.
He just makes it look easy down there, Larry. I mean, he's got 5 or 4 inches on Kaiser, so presents a challenge still for Kaiser, but you'll see a lot of offensive rebounds from Brayman today.
Remarkably composed when he was triple teamed.
Yes.
I'm sure we'll see a lot of that today. Metamora trying to grow their lead past 4 once again. DeFrance has been hot early. Kicks it out Kaiser, now to Schroeder. Reverse to Tucker. Corner 3 for Tyson Swanson. And a loose ball foul is called. It will stay with the Redbirds.
Larry, and that's one thing that we've seen, starting early in the season, Metamora not looking on paper as a team that would shoot the 3 a lot, but we've seen them kind of unfold, and when they get going from 3, they can be very lethal.
Kaiser with a 13-footer, an awkward distance, but he made it look easy. 4 points for Kaiser so far.
And I think that's really what separates Kaiser as a big man. He can get in there in the post and bully down low with Brayman, but he can also step back out and shoot it.
Here we go on the fast break. Schroeder blocked, but guess who's there? Kaiser with 6. Metamora with a stop and another bucket could open up a 10-point deficit on the Rockets. Almost a turnover for early. Weber drives baseline. Fike thought about the 3, and now they'll reset. Brayman. Baseline J for Fike. And a foul on RB. I think that's going to be on Brayman.
Like an over the back or push off. But I think, too, Larry, that's what separates them. If Brayman, as you just saw in that drive by Schroeder, if he has to help off, there's a mismatch on Kaiser down there. Not a lot of size outside of Brayman on this Roanoke squad.
Tucker is fouled. And it's going to be interesting to see, John, if Brayman picks up another foul in this first quarter or early in the second quarter, we're going to see a lot different, a team that's very different than what we're seeing right now for RB.
And Larry, recalling last year, I remember being at a game when they played at Princeville and Brayman was in foul trouble on the bench almost the entire game. But they had Jack Weber out there to kind of control, so being anxious to see if he does go out early, who can kind of take over and still steamhead this team.
It'll be interesting to watch. They're certainly a smaller squad now. Bremen gets the inside look and hammers it home.
And once he can separate and get inside, you're going to see a lot of two-handed dunks today.
Couldn't be easier. Nobody in his way there. Rockets down by 6. DeFrance. Shifty pass down low. Kaiser reverse. Denied by Bremen. Here comes the fast break. Martin looking for Bremen. Turned over. Ethan Kizer is hacked. And looked like he got up there near the rim. Almost hit his head on the basket. And you can't blame RB for the foul there, but it was a hard one.
Yeah, and being at Metamora, like I said early in the season, and seeing some of their highlights, you got to know when a transition pass comes down to Kaiser that you're going to see a dunk, and they just prevented that on that end.
First free throw is in for the sophomore star. Averaged just over 11 points a year ago. Certainly been an uptick in his sophomore season. And he is off to a hot start. 8 of Metamora's 14 points early on.
I think if you're Roanoke right now, they just want to keep working the ball inside to Bremen, but they're doing a good job to try to keep him out in front, Kaiser, and not let him roll to that basket, but see if they can get anybody else going with Bremen, because it can't be a one-man game. Bremen
triple teamed. Open on the perimeter is early. Rattles in and out and back in. That's going to be a 2 for Early. His foot was on the line. They could have used that extra point, but no less. Good bucket for the Rockets. Swanson reverse to the other side to Tucker. Schroeder, nice pass down low. Kaiser high off the glass and in.
And Larry, this ball movement by Metamora in these last couple sequences, they're really unselfish and just play for that open man. But
Kaiser and DeFrance have all of the Redbirds 16 points. Kaiser with 10. Bremen on the inside. Spins through, and he traveled.
They're doing a good job containing him inside a little bit, but got away with the step there that they called. And I think Metamora's kind of learning, hey, guys, we got to keep him outside the post.
That's right. He's been hounded in there. Metamora a little undersized against the 6'9 Bremen, but they have been pesky. Drew Tucker. The pass is picked off. Back into the hands of Kaiser, though. Solomon Schwartz in the ball game.
He's touched on that quickness, but there was James Early in there, almost had that steal.
Schroeder switches hands. Can't get the offhand to go. That would have been a nice bucket. And RB travels. Luke Soder couldn't keep the pivot foot.
I think as we've seen, Larry, in these last 2 possessions, they're trying to match that tempo of Metamora and just kind of getting ahead of themselves a little bit, which has led to 2 turnovers.
And there you get the big school versus small school factor. Metamora plays a lot of very high-tempo teams in the Middle Illini, whereas RB playing a lot of 1A schools in the Tri-County Conference. Perhaps they're used to a little more slow half-court defense, half-court offense. Metamora will go into the half-court offense here, holding for the final shot of the quarter. Tucker with it. He had 9 points last game. 6'2 sophomore getting a lot of playing time early. Into the corner for Schroeder. He's going to drive baseline looking for Kaiser, and he cashes in. 12 points for the sophomore, and that's how the first quarter ends. A dominant performance for Ethan Kizer and the Redbirds. The sophomore has 12, and the Redbirds have a 10-point lead.
And we talk about that unselfishness. What a pass by Schroeder there to find Kaiser in a little bit of trouble, but he still got that pass to go in between the crack there, and Kaiser with a nice finish.
Unselfish play for the Redbirds. That's been a hallmark of Danny Greaves' program here. Highly successful in his tenure in the Tepke gym.
You know, something that we touched on too is how well balanced this Metamora team is. DeFrance really getting them going with those 2 early threes, which kind of picked up this momentum for Metamora. We'll see how Abe Zeller can respond with his team in this second quarter and what he's going to say to his guys to get them fired up out of the timeout here.
What do you think their approach is in the second quarter? Is it any different than get the ball to Luke in the post,
get
or
the
what?
ball to Luke to try, but that basket by James early was reassuring. You know, you got to have other guys, like I said, contribute. But they're doing a good job, and Luke's going to get hounded all game long, but if they can keep trying to get it into him, and, you know, like you said, 14 for 14 from free throw, so try to draw fouls on him.
Bremen has 6 of the team's 8 points. Middle Illini versus Tri-County Conference matchup. Redbirds lost their Saturday game against Dunlap, so they scheduled the state finalists from last year. Reverse to the right wing to Swarz. Now to the left wing to Schroeder. Back to Swarz. Bit of a 3-2 zone look for the Rockets. Look at that ball movement. And another 2 points for Kaiser, 14.
What we've seen a lot of is a touch, go, and then right inside Kaiser just gets that little base. It's so important, too, if you could find a player in the high school level that's so consistent at shooting perimeter jump shots. Kaiser's really got that in his bag.
He's got almost every shot in his bag, and Joel Weber, the 5'8" senior guard, has that shot from 14 feet, his first 2.
You know, and mentioning getting other guys going, Joel Weber, this would be big for him to assert himself in this offense.
Once again, the ball popping around for the Redbirds, and it results in a good look at 3, but it's off for Tucker. Early on the baseline, the fadeaway J. Rebounded by Schroeder. Now Metamora is going a little quicker. Once again, they'll slow it down. Kaiser for 3, his first.
And what a game so far by Kaiser.
17 points for the sophomore. He is lighting it up. On pace for his season high and then some. Joel Weber looking for the response for the Rockets. They need one. Josh Fike, hands off to Weber. 3 is off. Rebound Martin. Off the attachment, bouncing around. What a save. Back into the hands of Bremen.
And Larry, they're not giving them anything inside right now. And I think this is one of the tougher defensive teams that Roanoke's seen even in the last 2 years.
Weber down low to early. To see that, a charge taken will get any sort of bench pumping. As if they need any reason to be excited in this one, up by 13. On a state finalist from last year, led by 17 from Kaiser.
We touched on that balance, but right now it's Ethan Kizer's show.
Yes, it is. He's outscoring the Rockets single-handedly. Kaiser's going to try another 3. That one's a little off, perhaps a heat check. And Weber stepped on the baseline. Bad break for the Rockets.
Going to get it right back, and those are the little mistakes that you want to try to eliminate, especially when you're playing a team like Metamora. But
as you mentioned, probably one of the toughest opponents that these Rockets have faced over the last few years, as Swarz hauls it in the backcourt, looking for some space. Gets it to Luke DeFrance.
And I'd have to go back and look, but
Kaiser knocks that one down. 20 points already.
Huge by Kaiser. And like I said, Larry, I'd have to go back and look, but I can't remember the last time they played a 3A school, so this definitely presents a challenge. In a shortened year like this, you're going to see some 1A, 3A matchups.
Early slips through traffic for 2.
And they needed something and early answers, but
DeFrance thought about pulling up. Kaiser's going to pull up from deep. Now that's a heat check from college range. Weber ahead to early. Bremen in the post. High off the glass, no good. Bremen has been quiet in the second quarter. Kaiser lays out and takes the timeout.
What a hustle play there by Kaiser. He's doing it all.
He is. Defense, offense, you name it. 20 points already. And last game, he scored 22 against Limestone in the entire game. That just goes to show you.
Ready up to 20 today, and you can see going to that timeout, Bremen looks a little tired, and I think they're doing a really good job of, containing him down here. It might present some issues for Roanoke if that's your go-to guy, but Metamora doing a really good job defensively and then answering big time on the offensive end.
John, I like the Redbirds' strategy of how they've taken Bremen out of the game defensively. They've pulled Kaiser out on the perimeter. Bremen is almost never on the perimeter,
Nope.
especially in the zone defense. He's one of the guys down low, so they haven't really had anybody to guard Kaiser on the perimeter especially.
And if you do that, that's what presents the biggest challenge for Abe Zeller in your timeouts like this, trying to figure out a defensive strategy and game plan here. But the moment you would pull Bremen out on that three-point line, you're leaving that back door open because you got so many guys that can slash and cut and get inside for layups. So you're at a loss at this moment until something can change.
That's the thing. If you put too much into Kaiser, there are just so many other options. And you could say the same for Roanoke-Benson, but nobody else has gotten hot for them quite yet. Bremen with 6, Early with 4, and Weber with 2.
I think, too, what we've seen from James Early and Joel Weber trying to is create their own shots, even moving the ball around. Metamora's not giving them a window at anything. So we've seen that in the last couple possessions after that dunk by Bremen early on, that they've really just limited his touches.
Michael Zobrist into the ball game for the Redbirds. Luc DeFrance will set it up. Schroeder looking inside for Kaiser. He's into the corner. Metamora going 1 in, 4 out alongside the perimeter. Schroeder, high post for Nealon. Looking for Nealon again, and that one can't be saved by DeFrance. So the Rockets will get an opportunity.
Metamora just got a little bit ahead of themselves on that one, tried to force a pass that wasn't there. Roanoke got a hand in on it, but
Josh Fike ripped away by Kaiser. He sails for the dunk.
Up to 22, and that's something that's not uncommon if you're tuning in, that once he gets on a break, you're going to see a dunk.
Man, he almost didn't stick the landing.
Oh.
He had so much momentum going forward. He loves doing that, you can tell.
Oh, yeah.
He loves jumping the passing lanes. Bremen, easy 2 after Kaiser couldn't draw the foul.
And we've seen a couple showstoppers, I think, when we weren't at the game personally, but remember he had a windmill against East Peoria earlier in the season too, and we saw probably 3-4 when we covered their game at IVC, so this is not uncommon for the 6'5" forward.
No, he has a few dunks a game, and he'll see that one on the news tonight.
Yep.
Schroeder, Kaiser, rhythm 3.
How about another?
25.
And Larry, I know we've seen only a couple games so far this year. He's still got a lot of games left, but this is one of the better performances I've seen all season. It's only the second quarter.
Last game we were talking about the IHSA record book for amount of overtimes in a girls basketball game. Well, I wish we had a Metamora record book to see what the single game points record is. Because he, at 25 points with over 2 minutes left in the second quarter, we could see a 40-point night from Kaiser.
It actually was here, and I don't remember the exact total. I want to say 50s, maybe 60, but it was Nate Cannell, Bradley graduate. So
we'll see if Kaiser can get into Nate Cannell territory. DeFrance from deep, almost got it.
I tell you what, guys, last game, John, you and I were talking about Sophia Remmel's 35 points against Pekin. We thought that was impressive. I mean, Kaiser's got to, if he's allowed to play and he stays in the game, keeps going, he's gonna have a crooked number.
Yeah.
Easy 2 for Nealon. The junior has 2 points. Weber on the other end. Count the bucket and the foul.
If you're Roanoke, that's what you needed right there. So
they need some sort of spark. Redbirds have doubled them up. And then some. So Fike checks in. To the bench goes Martin. Weber converts.
Yeah, and going back to Kaiser, he's just such a tough player to contain. If you're Roanoke, where's your answer right now? Because he can do it all, as we've seen. He can shoot the 3, shoot the perimeter shot, and dunk and slash his way inside for a layup. So
maybe we see a triple team like Metamora has been triple teaming Bremen, but it's not that simple with Kaiser, as we've discussed. Ball bounces into the bleachers. It'll stay with the Redbirds.
Yeah, Larry, and it's going to be a team to watch in the Mid-Illini this year, this Metamora group.
DeFrance can't get the shooter's touch, but Zobrist with the offensive board. Kaiser pops it back out. DeFrance. It's like the Redbirds are playing a game of hot potato when they pass the ball around. Just pops so quick. Schroeder's tray got it. 36-17.
And Larry, as you say that, it's almost like they don't even let the ball settle in their hands. They touch it and throw it.
Yes.
I mean,
Rockets need some responses before halftime. Martin almost traveled Bremen for the putback.
Bremen does a good job asserting himself on that play, but he's really had to work down there.
Once again, popping in and out. DeFrance's long ball is down. What a showing by the Redbirds in the first half. DeFrance with 9.
I mean, so unselfish.
The shot from Weber is way off. Kaiser out in front. DeFrance, open again.
Oh.
Redbirds will get another look. Now it looks like they're going to slow it down. Looking to expound upon their 20-point advantage before the half. Here the Metamora bench counting it down.
Think they're going to play for a 3 here, Larry?
Oh, probably.
Tough shot.
Baseline shot, wow.
They're getting everything to fall.
Jake Nealon pulls a rabbit out of his hat, and that's how the first half ends. Redbirds in dominant fashion behind 25 points from Ethan Kizer.
41-19, and you couldn't ask for a better half if you're Danny Greaves.
My, oh my. What a performance it was. And John, watching the Rockets walk off the court, I think they're a little shell-shocked.
Just a little shell-shocked, a little dejected. You know, but that's what we've seen with Metamora. If there's a single breakdown in your defense, this is what they can do to you. So I think they knew that on the scouting report, but if you're Abe Zeller, you got to try to piece something together here in the second half. Otherwise, they're going to run up this score.
Redbirds looking to take the boys basketball victory after their girls team fell to Dunlap in a triple overtime heartbreaker earlier today on ClutchSportsIL.com. And they're well on their way.
They are, indeed.
We'll turn Joey Wright's headset up to bring him
Yeah, what do I have to say? Let's see. What do I have to say?
There's not much to say about it other than the score and Kaiser's 25.
Yeah, Ethan Kizer, man. I mean, what else can you say? 25. He just an incredible first half, and he was lighting them up. You know, we saw the dunks, but he was knocking in threes. He was doing everything possible for the Redbirds. And you know, watching from behind the computer, you watch in general terms, and you can't really speak in absolutes. But I will go back to the game we saw, the first leg of our doubleheader. You know, Metamora had all sorts of momentum in the first half, and it was, you know, such that Dunlap was able to get a little momentum going into halftime and came back at a good third quarter. I think it's a little apples and oranges. This has been a little bit of a different game, but Roanoke-Benson, I think the adjustments in the locker room, they've got to start with Ethan Kizer. But the problem with this Metamora team is that they are so deep. So you start going to Kaiser, that opens up Schroeder, that opens up. So they got a lot of work to do. Ethan Kizer has really put the Redbirds in a good spot.
Tell you what, guys, with the Redbirds in a good spot, I think we will take a brief halftime pause before we come back and run down some stats for you. But, of course, the big number that jumps off the scoreboard, Kaiser with 25 in the first half. Redbirds well out in front at the halftime break. Thanks for joining us on this Saturday afternoon on ClutchSportsIL.com. We'll be right back. Welcome back inside Tepke Gymnasium, getting you set for the second half of action. In case you're just joining us on ClutchSportsIL.com. It's quite the first half for the Metamora Redbirds, led by 25 points from sophomore star Ethan Kizer. On the other side of things for the Rockets, they struggled to really get anything going, but Luke Brayman has 10.
They did, Larry, and outside of that 25 from Kaiser, we've seen 3 threes from Luke DeFrance to pace up with 9, and if you're Abe Zeller at halftime, you probably try to say something to your team that, hey guys, we got to get something started here.
They'll try to get something started with Joel Weber, who sets it up. Left corner, trying to find Brayman, and they can't. Schroeder will slow it down. I don't think Danny Grief's squad is going to be in any rush to push the pace in the second half, John.
I don't think so at all, Larry. And as we just saw there, they try to get something started with Brayman, but
Kaiser picks up where he left off.
Hey, Kaiser's just can't miss.
He is something else today. We've seen him dominate, but nothing like this. And Weber looking inside for Brayman.
It's 2 straight possessions there that they've tried to force it outside of Brayman. They're just not giving him anything.
Brayman gets it back. What a showing from the senior. Showing off the power, and he's got 12 points. First bucket of the half for the Rockets.
And all 12 of those he's had a fight for.
Yes. A lot of them second chance points. DeFrance, the teardropper. Almost got the steal. Boy, he doesn't have a lot of size, standing at 5'8" on the roster. But he might be the quickest player on this floor.
Oh, definitely. And you got to love to see this in Metamora being up as big as they are and still pushing it full court press and trying to force turnovers and just never giving up. The game's not over till it's over.
You never know. This Rockets squad is very good. As we've mentioned time and time again, made it to the state finals last year, so you never know what they can do. Metamora looking strong to start the half, though. DeFrance directing traffic. Was looking for Tucker, but Kaiser ended up with the ball.
Kaiser with that hot hand. He wants another one.
Why not? DeFrance denied baseline. Back out for Tyson Swanson.
Metamora slowing the tempo, but a good job defensively from Roanoke, looking a little better than they were.
Kaiser from 15. He is dialed.
I was going to say, it doesn't really matter where you're at on the defensive end if Kaiser's going to do this on you all game.
30 points. The shot from Weber is off. Gets his own board back. Outlet pass to Early. He loses the basketball. Martin into the corner.
France almost got his hand in there on another one. He's been all over it on the defensive end.
Brayman was looking to get the pick and roll going, and now there's a foul on Metamora.
I mean, Larry, Kaiser's just been something else.
I think we're both a little astounded.
Yeah.
I mean, my goodness.
Going into it, you're playing a large school, small school game, but it's still a talented Roanoke team defensively, but Kaiser has not been phased.
I mean, you mentioned it in the open. This Abe Zeller squad prides itself on defense. Brayman shows off his range but can't connect. Kaiser in transition, has the ball poked loose, still loose, and Fike comes out with it for the Rockets. Can Roanoke-Benson build some momentum here? Early's gonna try and drain it.
And James Early is one of those guys you want to get going because last year he was a very good three-point shooter for the Rockets when they were leading.
Early with 7 this game. He's averaging 10 this year. Kaiser wanted to get it to go from deep. Couldn't find the room, and Swanson is fouled.
I don't think there's a ball that he touches that he doesn't want to let it fly.
And with that, we'll take our mask timeout in the third quarter. John, is it just me, or have you not noticed the mask timeouts in the last 2 quarters? I don't know if the pace was just so fast, or Joey, did you notice that as well?
You know, now that I think about it,
I don't remember them.
I don't recall them either.
No, I don't.
I think that speaks to the pace of the game. There weren't many dead ball opportunities in the first 2 quarters.
Larry, I just wanted to hop in and say this score, also the front row of tomorrow's Daytona 500.
Oh, my gosh.
In reverse, although I think both cars, at least the 24's got to go to the back. 48 might not, but just wanted to chime in and say that during the dead period.
You think somebody's excited for NASCAR to come back?
I'm ready to go, man. A great duels on Thursday. The Clash was good. We were in Pekin the night of the Clash, but caught the end on the way home. I'm ready to go, but
and for those of you that don't know, is Joey's a big NASCAR fan.
Huge fan.
Prides himself on that.
Also, used to turn me down.
Used to cover,
I'm turning Joey's microphone down.
Joe used to cover Peoria Speedway, too. So
yes, he did. He's got that experience.
Polished in all levels of racing.
Oh, man. Metamora doubling up the Rockets. In case you're just joining us, it's been all Redbirds. You haven't missed much, unless, of course, you're a big Ethan Kizer fan. He's got 30 points. He scored 12 in the first, and that really set the tone.
Really did, Larry, and from there they just really kept their foot on the gas. It's, Roanoke's just trying to chip in to cut away at the lead a little bit, but they're still in a big hole. And
Schroeder, the lob to Kaiser, turned away, scoop shot, almost, tried to get it back, couldn't quite. That would have been something if he could finish that lob. I think we'll see that again today. We got to be ready for it.
And there's a takeaway.
Swanson rips it away to France, looking up court. Kaiser from deep. He's fouled by Bremen.
And even when he's not finishing, he's drawing contact. So
yeah.
It just goes to show you how versatile he is.
It's really wild. Looking at Bremen next to Kaiser makes Kaiser look small. When so often he's the biggest player on the floor in a lot of these Mid-Illini games. Can't get the first one down. Was 2 for 2 with the stripe previously.
And you know, Larry listed as a forward, and
second free throw was in.
Being one of their bigger guys on the roster, he plays like a guard.
He does.
He does.
I mean, he's got the range. He can do either. We've seen him post up and very often in conference games, as we mentioned, but it's dead quiet in the gym for that third free throw. He knocks it down. Kaiser goes 2 for 3 at the stripe, but we mentioned that's kind of a strategy for Metamora to take Bremen out of the game defensively. They pull their largest player out on the perimeter. Weber kicks out to Martin. The junior dribbles around the screen, gets to the rack, and lays it up and in for 2.
Yeah, and for those watching at home, Larry, sometimes we go dead silent on those free throws. We're not forgetting our words. It's just we don't want to.
It's awkward. It really is.
We don't want to pose a distraction for these players.
Especially here at Metamora, we're so close to the floor, which I love personally.
Yeah.
Swanson, the head fake, and he's fouled. How about that little hesitation? You could hear the fans behind us getting excited about that. Yep. Who could blame them?
And you have so many guys on this roster that are so quick with that first step that they're there and then they'll blow right by you. And Metamora showed that.
First free throw is in for Tyson Swanson. Had 14 points last game. 6'1" sophomore. Can't get the second one to go. Roanoke came into this one at 4-0, 3-0 in conference play. It's looking as if they're going to fall to 4-1. How about that block? Redbirds doing it all. Kaiser ahead, the no-look pass. Bounced around to Swanson, and he is fouled. I think that one is going to be on Bremen. It is indeed, and that is Bremen's third foul.
You know, Bremen has to go sit. I mean, you're virtually out of this game.
Yeah.
And
Kaiser off the inbound. That one's a little off. A rare sight today.
You want to just kind of keep the score somewhat manageable, but
yeah.
It's not looking like they can do too much here.
It's going to take a miracle. But
this is a great challenge, you know, on their schedule of Metamora, but they are at the 1A level, so this will definitely polish them and get them ready for other small school teams. But it's hard to run into this buzzsaw.
Next up for Roanoke, they play Seneca on Tuesday. As for Metamora, their schedule's a little bit up in the air as Weber goes up and under, couldn't get it to go. Second chance bucket is in for Josh Fike. Fike, who has played just one game this season so far, of the Rockets' 4 entering this one, has warmed up pretty nicely.
He has, and a good
Schroeder, the lob to Kaiser. It's a little bit off. Jeez.
If that was on the mark, we would have seen another big one from him.
We'll be ready next time. Zobrist, the bounce pass down low, worked out. Schroeder, 3 on the way from drove. And the offensive putback rattles around the rim and in for Tyson Swanson.
It's just that extra pass that really separates them from a lot of teams.
And we see it on almost every possession. It's really remarkable. Danny Greaves just has this team coached up and ready to go. And even if their talent isn't up with some other squads, as Weber is not called for the charge, picks up the blocking foul, he'll head to the stripe for one more. As I was saying, the talent level is up there with other teams in the Middle Illini for Metamora, but even if it's not, they can always compete. Because these teams, the level of play is consistent year to year.
Oh, yeah. And two, I mean, one thing that you can tell, and this probably goes for a lot of other teams in the area as well, but that uncertainty, would we have a season? Metamora looks like they've been playing for 11 months straight.
No kidding.
They look like they've been, even some of these new guys that have stepped up, they look like they've played together for years.
They haven't missed a beat. Swars, corner, Zobrist 3 is short. Swanson gets it back and loses it, but it will stay with the Redbirds, and now we're on Ethan Kizer watch.
32, and every time you look up, they're still outscoring the Roanoke-Benson.
Doesn't get the inbound. Instead, Swars resets it. The clock winds down on this third quarter. Kaiser from 17 gets the shooter's touch. 34.
If they keep him in there in that fourth quarter, Larry, that 40 mark doesn't seem too far
No,
off.
It does not. The 2 falls for James Early.
Which would be one of our highs of the year.
It would be. Would be the highest that we have seen so far, and I think his 34 points are already there.
Yep.
Zobrist from the corner again gets that one to fall. They keep on coming.
Not a guy on the floor that can't burn you from behind the arc.
No kidding. Martin, layup off. That'll stay on this end. Redbird subs, Luke McAllister in the ball game. Zobrist out and Swanson out. See if they go to Bremen here. He's been quiet in the second half. 3 fouls. The inbounds pass goes to Early. And Bremen picks up the foul and the bucket. Right on cue. Bremen up to 14 points. With the opportunity for one more with that sweet stroke at the line.
That's the thing. He hadn't stopped working down there. Still getting rebounds. They're just making him work a lot harder. And Bremen knocks it down, getting 15 points today.
Schroeder walks it up. They can hold for the final shot of the quarter if they want, and I think they will. Schroeder with the shifty handles. Kaiser thought about the long range. He's double teamed. Schroeder open in the corner. You can't leave him open. And that's how the third quarter ends. The dominance continues for the Redbirds.
And like we just said, it's just that one extra pass and you get another man open, and Metamora's, they just continue to run this game up.
It really is remarkable, and frankly, we expected this one to be a little closer than it is, folks. Roanoke-Benson made state last year at the 1A level, but you know, it's not to say that it's necessarily Roanoke-Benson's fault that the game is at this wide of a margin. I mean, my goodness, what a show it has been for the Redbirds. 34 points from Ethan Kizer, and it all started in the first quarter. He scored 12. Redbirds raced out to a 10-point lead almost immediately. They have not looked back.
Yeah, Larry, and like you said, a lot of takeaways you could take from this game. If you're Abe Zeller and your team, you know, seeing as how Metamora will probably hold on in these last 8 minutes, but you can't be too mad at yourself for Kaiser going off for 34, because if Brayman doesn't step out, he still has a mismatch on a lot of these guys, and you've seen a lot of his mid-range jumpers, threes, you know, whoever puts a hand up on him, it's usually going to go in.
Let's have a little fun in this fourth quarter, shall we? Metamora 61, Roanoke-Benson 36.
Need Joey Wright on the mic if you want to have a little fun.
We're not talking NASCAR, Joey.
No, we won't. Plenty to talk about, though, with these two teams, you know, and Roanoke-Benson down in this one, guys, but they're going to have a lot of success playing schools, you know, more their size. 4-0 entering this one, John, or Larry, is one of you mentioned a moment ago.
Swars the jump pass outside. Schroeder double-teamed, finds the open man. Metamora is so good at that. Swars reverses.
And a new face on the floor, Luke McAllister in for Metamora.
They get to dig deep into their bench for this game. Kaiser out, and Schroeder's three is off. Rebound goes to the Rockets. We'll see if Brayman gets a little more involved in the offense. I mean, we talked about it in the first quarter about how almost everything runs through him, but he has just been taken out of this game.
Yeah, Kaiser's doing a good job on pushing him, and then they'll help off. But like we said, 15 of those points, but he's really had a grind.
Three from Weber is down.
Three-point basket, Joel Weber.
Joel Weber's heated up in the second half into double figures with 11. Kaiser, Swars, down low. Swars in the high post. Bounce pass to Nealon. Three for Kaiser. Almost got the touch off the rim. It's really amazing. His jumper almost always has a chance of going in, even if it hits the front of the rim.
Such a good-looking shot.
It really is. It is a pure stroke. How about that pure layup from Joel Weber, fighting through traffic. And the senior is up to 13 points.
Tell you what, John, I really like how Roanoke-Benson has continued to compete in this one. You know, it doesn't look like this one's going to favor them, but they're out there. I mean, they're going down the court every time with the intention of scoring, with the intention of getting better.
Yeah, and it's a 20-point game, but like you said, they're not going to give up until the final horn sounds. So
a reverse court pass to McAllister. Slipped into Kaiser. The bounce pass down low, and a foul sends Nealon to the line. I mean, the ball movement has just continued for the Redbirds. They haven't just held it in the backcourt. I will go ahead and say they're the best passing team that we have seen all season, and likely the best that we will see all season.
I agree.
It's really fun to watch.
One matchup I'd love to go back and see again would be, going off of last year's regional championship, would be a Notre Dame Metamora, talking about teams that can move the ball. Notre Dame very well sounded on unselfish play as well.
Bryston Plew in the game as Swars heads to the bench. DeFrance is already there. And Nealon knocks it down. So Metamora getting its deep bench guys into the ball game.
Kaiser comes out, but I tell you what, guys, something I've been thinking about this whole game. Ethan Kizer has gotten a lot better year to year. Like, we did a couple Metamora games last year, and he was on the court, played a lot, played some good minutes. I don't remember him being this dominant.
Yes.
I mean, he has really stepped it up, and he had so much hype going into last season, but he continues to build, and he continues to get better.
I think, as you say that, Joey, having guys like Gabe Mason out there, you know, in years past, and, you know, now that he's kind of in his own and he's more of the star of the team, I think it gives him a chance to really show his dominance, and he's done that certainly today.
Rhythm three is off from early. But you guys make a great point, and that's what I was telling Joey off the air, I think a few days ago. We were talking about Kaiser. He was good his freshman year, and you could tell the talent was there, but he took this offseason, and you could tell he put it together a little bit.
Definitely, and
McAllister's three is off. Tipped around. What a pass that was, but it sails out of the sideline.
You know, and only being a sophomore and the way he's really played this year, colleges are going to start popping up left and right.
I'm sure they already have, especially the local ones. It is going to be fun to watch him, and to think that he's got 2 more years left after this one. Oh, boy. There's going to be a lot of big crowds in Tepke Gymnasium.
Question is, you think he's going to, almost like a Anthony Davis having his unibrow, you think he's going to keep that hair?
Good question. I think he will. It's trademark.
Yeah.
It is trademark at this point, well known. The headband as well.
Yeah.
Flowing in the wind,
Yes.
soaring to the basket.
Yes.
And you see it flowing a lot of the time when he's soaring above the rim for dunks. So
I go back to that one, that play down Metamora into the floor, first or second quarter, where I don't know who caught up to him for Roanoke-Benson. I think it was Joel Weber caught him, and they collided, and he was up so high that he looked like he almost hit his head on the basket. I mean, didn't get the basket, but still.
And we saw that earlier in the season, Joey, when against IVC on that inbound play, that he went up and he was eye level with the rim. I mean, he can soar.
He certainly can.
Entering the closing stages here in Metamora. Joel Weber into the paint. Can't get it over the front of the iron. And Tucker comes out with it. A little bit of a pause there as Joey and I were looking at our phones, a little Bradley basketball news.
Yeah,
we won't get into it. We won't get into it.
Might have to mention it, but
nah, fans can go to Twitter if they want to see any sort of news. But after this one wraps up, I'll go home and turn on the Bradley game. I don't have a good feeling about it anymore.
Poor John doesn't even know what we're talking about.
I'm lost, guys. But I'll go to Twitter and find out.
The three is in from Drew Tucker. Oh, boy.
Tell you, there are a couple things, a couple times during these broadcasts. You look at your phone and you got to do a little double take. The eyes get wide.
That's why you don't look at your phone during a broadcast.
Well, your phone's over here. It was.
Yes.
I've got mine right
My
beside
phone's probably
me.
blown up, not going to lie. Three is down for Joel Weber.
Next thing you know, guys, you look at your phone and then you're thinking about NASCAR,
That's right. That's right.
You get distracted and forget that Ethan Kaiser's had 34 today.
Should I disappoint Larry and tell him he's only got a text from Josh Schwam?
No.
That's fine. Someone wants to connect with you on LinkedIn as well.
Thanks for the update, Joey. Oh, boy. It's been a fun afternoon, hasn't it?
It's been, guys, it has been. The basketball we've seen today has been incredible, and it started with a great first game. One of the all-time basketball games I've ever seen in person. I mean, I don't think that's an exaggeration. 3 overtimes, Metamora and Dunlap. At any level of play, that was just a phenomenal game. And this game has not been without its storylines. Roanoke-Benson, I think, is, as I said earlier, I truly believe that when they get back to playing, school's a little smaller, a little more their speed. Nice block there.
Bremen.
From Bremen, yeah, this is going to be a good team to watch.
Bremen shows off on the defensive end, and Martin is fouled on the other end.
And we talk about, that's a 24-point game, but it's not a complete, it's not like Metamora has completely run up the score.
Well, in the second half, the Rockets have gotten a few good performances, especially from Joel Weber, who's turned it on. Free throw was up and down after a few bounces from Martin.
And you could see Roanoke cut into it a little more with them going to their bench. A chance for guys like Bremen to kind of assert himself down low with them taking Kaiser out. But it's still a game that Metamora's showed dominant from the get-go.
And looking ahead for both these squads, we mentioned that RB goes to Seneca, or plays Seneca at home on Tuesday. Metamora's schedule is still kind of in question. Will Dunlap be back for Tuesday? Genuine question. John, have you heard anything?
I have not heard anything, and honestly, I don't want to speak out on something I don't know about, but I'm unsure, and you would hope that they can. So Dunlap can fit some games.
I mean, they played one game against Peoria Christian to open the season, and then went down with COVID concerns. The three from Zobrist is off. Volleyball match tipped around into the hands of Fike.
And you hate to see any team go through this, Larry, or Joey, I'll add you in here as well, but after this long layoff that coaches and players had to go through, you hate to see him get hit with another.
It is brutal. You feel bad for him. You really do.
Guys,
Deep three from McAllister.
a lot of the problem, I think, for Dunlap has been that we keep trying to schedule their games on Thursday nights because we were supposed to do Washington Dunlap girls on Thursday, and that was a different set of concerns, but that game got postponed as well. So we got to start trying to get them on different nights of the week.
Joe Weber with a nice take there, and they're still playing hard, like you said, Joey. They don't give up. But I think in this shortened season, as we touched on, March 13th cutoff there, that games like this are good to see so teams can go to their bench, and you see a lot of these guys come in and get some opportunities to play and get ready for next year when there's hopefully a full season with postseason. And
Luke Hopp into the game for Metamora, and you talk about those reps. That's something that Joey and I have repeated in almost every game that we've done this season, John, is talking about the difference between practice and game reps.
Yep.
Because you can only practice so many times and you just get used to it, but game reps aren't really repeatable in practice.
And look how many teams, going off John's point, look how many teams in the area are young. I mean, look at the Metamora Dunlap game we did earlier. So many sophomores and underclassmen. I use that as an example. It's the case here. It's the case in so many games we've seen. I feel like it's just a really young season overall where a lot of teams we see on the hardwood this spring are going to bring a lot of those guys back or girls back next fall or winter, whatever the seasons look like.
Hey, guys, a lot of that we see in starting lineups even. And, Joey, you mentioned or you guys were at Peak and Morton on Tuesday, and Jargon's in the lineup for Peak. And one of their, Jeremy Crouch really likes him as a player there. He's only a freshman. We saw Sullenberger here for the Dunlap girls, freshman. So I think you're going to see a lot of that talent just start to evolve through the years and see some really good players as they get older.
It's going to be fun to watch, and Kaiser's one of those guys. And you forget that he is because only a sophomore, but you feel like you've heard about him forever because partially you have, as the 2 is in for early.
I think the reason, too, that he kind of popped up early on the radar was having that dunk over someone that was 6'6" when he was at the Chris Paul camp, I believe.
How about that? Another 3 from Luke McAllister, just about from the other side of the river. Under 25 to go. Metamora is going to extend its win streak to 6 after opening the season with a loss at Bloomington Central Catholic. And Roanoke-Benson's winning streak snaps at 4 to open the season. They'll fall to 4-1. Redbirds to 6-1. McAllister, another deep shot off the mark, and the shot is down. And that is how the ball game ends. The final score, Metamora 76 and Roanoke-Benson 49.
Just a tough test for the Rockets tonight, but Metamora looks really, really good going into the Mid-Illini slate that they're going to go into this week. But, guys, what a game earlier in the first game of our doubleheader, but more of a lopsided game we saw in this second one.
Yes, and if my total is correct, 34 points for Ethan Kizer.
Yes,
and
correct.
if he kept on playing, I think he would have gotten to 40.
Yes.
I mean, just the way he started the game, 12 points in the first quarter. Metamora opened up the lead right away to 10-plus points. And from there, that was it.
And, too, like we talked earlier, Bremen kind of separated himself in this game, but that was a quiet 15 points, and he had to work for every one of those points. But Metamora, a great job on the defensive end, too, to hold Roanoke to under 50.
Joey, I'll let you hop in. Any final thoughts on your end?
Just what a performance from Ethan Kizer. And Metamora came out so strong in the first half. Set the tone early at halftime. There wasn't a ton Roanoke-Benson can do. It's what we mentioned, go into the halftime break. So many guys from Metamora can step up, even if they stopped Ethan Kizer, and Kaiser didn't have as good a second half, still a great second half compared to his first. There just was nothing the Rockets could do.
Metamora comes out on top on its home court. What was the final? As Joey takes it off the screen. 76-49. I'll write that down. 76-49 final score. Joey misleading everybody. We don't know what the final is anymore.
Yeah, we should toss that back on the screen.
Yeah, probably a good idea.
And guys, I know we mentioned Kaiser a lot throughout this broadcast, but you know, outside of him, 76 points, pretty well balanced with Luke DeFrance getting some points, you know, Michael Zobrist, Zach Schroeder, Swanson, Nalen. There's a lot of different guys that can score on this team any given night.
Metamora stays hot going back into Middle Illini Conference play later this week. After a long afternoon at Tepke Gymnasium in Metamora, Illinois, that about does it for this presentation of Clutch Sports Media. So for our entire crew, Joey Wright at the controls, Jonathan Michael behind the camera, the best cameraman in the business, Matt Harrington working social media and the sidelines as the photographer, alongside John Camosa, I am Larry Larson saying so long and happy Saturday from Metamora. We will talk to you on Tuesday night for our next game to be determined. So long.